Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different actually. This video is going to be specifically about whether or not you should hire an immigration lawyer to get to the States. So this video is not going to be my typical traveling everyday life video. So if that's something you're not interested in, I would just say skip this, because this is really going to be a video that's going to benefit for the people that are looking to migrate or go through the immigration process to get here to America, which is what my wife did. She's from Thailand originally. With that, let's address whether or not you should hire an immigration lawyer, because I joined a lot of Facebook groups about and there's actually a lot of Facebook groups about immigration, different visas, your K1, your CR1, there's travel visa, work visa, all kinds of different visas you can get to the States. And then also, just not Facebook groups, there's a lot of forums out there. One what I found quite helpful is visajourney.com, which is quite a helpful one. Not that I'm on there or have anything to do with it, any affiliation. I just found it quite helpful because people on there actually put their whole journey of when they start the process to the finish and how long things take. And that's from each country. So you get to get an idea of how long you think things are going to process in that country. That was quite helpful for me because my wife, as I said, is from Thailand, and other people put their experience about how long the process took to get the CR1 visa from Bangkok. So that's worth checking out, visajourney.com. So there's kind of like, I've noticed in Facebook groups, there's kind of a heated debate and arguments and discussions about people put online, they say, should I pay for an immigration lawyer or not? Now, a lot of people say yes, and I think more people say no, and they say it's a waste of time, waste of money, and you can do it all yourself. So I'm going to give you the pros and cons of what my personal experience only, right? I'm not saying that I'm not a lawyer. I'm just someone that went through the immigration process to get here into America 20 years ago on a K1 visa, and I will tell you about that experience in a second. And then I will tell you about my wife's CR1 visa to get here from Thailand to America to get her green card. So this is how I see it. So there's a lot of forums out there. There's a lot of online guides. Even on the USCIS website, there's a whole step-by-step guide of what you need to do, right? But for me, yeah, let's talk about, so for me, 20 years ago, I thought I could save money, and I applied for my K1 visa to get here to the States when I married a girl from California a long time ago. So I did it all myself, and that was from the help of online forums and just reading, really. I spent a lot of time reading, a lot of time preparing documents, and then asking a lot of questions to a lot of people online, whether or not this was correct, what I was doing or not. And I submitted it, paid all the fees, etc. I couldn't tell you how much I paid. It was 20 years ago now. But what happened is actually ended up getting my K1 visa approved. I think it took about 9 months when I was living in England in total. And then I flew to the States. I think I remember on the 82nd day, I actually got married. And then after that, then I had to wait another, I think it's another 3 months to get my social security number. Now, that's where all the problems started for me, because I never used a lawyer. And so it was, no, that part was okay. But what the problem for me is when I tried to change my status after I got married on my K1 visa to a permanent resident, I applied for that. And that's where all the headache started for me. Because what was the first thing that happened? Oh yeah, that's right. They sent me a letter and said, you need to come into San Francisco and have a in-person interview, right? So I went there. It took about 2 months to get I think, I don't know, I can't be sure. It might have been 5 or 6 months at that point to get the interview in San Francisco. Anyway, I got there. And I just want to say, I remember at the time when I don't know if it's changed now. I'm not sure if it's changed or not, but at the time, once you've got your K1 visa and you've got married and you apply to become a permanent resident, while your case is pending, I couldn't leave America to go back home to England to visit my parents for any reason, you know, whether they were sick, in hospital, or somebody's birthday or wedding, whatever it was, right? And when you're in a new country, you do get kind of homesick a little bit, really. And I think I was about a year into the whole process, and I really wanted to go back and see my family. You know, my mum and dad were getting old then, and I just couldn't go. So I had to patiently wait for this status to change before I could go. And if you don't wait and you just go to the UK, you have to start all over again, and it's a whole fiasco. So anyway, I got my interview in San Francisco, and when I got there, I remember they said, "Where's your sponsor?" Which was my ex-mother-in-law at the time, right? And I said, "What do you mean, where's the sponsor? You didn't say bring a sponsor." And the guy in the room said, "No, you are supposed to bring a sponsor." And I said, "Well, where does it say that on the letter?" It never said that on the letter anywhere. And he said, "Well, yeah, it does say it on the letter." And I got the letter out. I said, "Well, where is it on the letter? It says that." And he looked at it and he went, "We've made a mistake here. There's check boxes, and we forgot to check a box that says bring a sponsor. We're sorry about that." I said, "Okay, well, that's okay, but that's not my problem. That's your problem. You made a clerical problem. That's okay. So what do I do? Come back tomorrow? Or maybe just reschedule, get me back in next week so we can get this done quickly?" No. They told me I have to go away and reapply again. I said, "What? What do you mean reapply again? Like, you made the mistake. Just, can you fix it? And I'll come in next week. You know, I've been desperately waiting to get this done." And they said, "No, you got to reapply again." Oh, I was pissed. So anyway, I had to leave, go home, reapply again, and wait, I think, another 6 months. Absolutely bonkers. What was the other thing that happened? Oh, yeah. I got a letter one day that was addressed to me from immigration. So I opened it because it was addressed to me. In the content of the letter, it was actually talking about someone else. And I remember it was an Asian person's name. I couldn't tell you who it was. It was 20 years ago. But I remember the person, it said in the letter, it's addressed to me, but it said the person that they were talking about was somebody else's case, a different case number. And it basically said your green card has been denied and you've got 10 days to leave the country. If you don't, a US Marshal will come to your home and physically take you and put you on an airplane. And I don't know if it's changed now, but that's 20 years ago. I thought, oh my God, what is this? So I called up the hotline, I think I remember at the time, and I said to this lady on the phone, "I need to sort this out." I said, "Because you sent me a letter with my address, but it's referencing somebody else's case, and it's a completely different name in the content of the letter. Can you just make sure that it's not for me and that other person knows for them, because, you know, it's a big screw up here." And the lady was just, people on the phone, just not helpful. And she said, "What did it say on the letter?" I said, "Well, it says in the letter that this so-and-so person's got to leave the country." And she said, "Well, if that's what it says, you're going to have to leave the country." I said, "No, you're not listening. It's not me that needs to leave the country. You're talking about another person." And she said, if it's addressed to you, you've got to leave the country." And I'm like, "But you're not listening." So I was like, oh, for Christ's sake. So they're just completely unhelpful. So I had to make another appointment at immigration in San Francisco to go and sort this mess out, right? And I think that took about 2 months. So I went in there with that letter and I said, "Can you sort this mess out?" I said, "First of all, you know, you screwed up with my other interview date by not asking for my sponsor to come. Now you sent me this strange letter that's not really for me. You know, can you just resolve this issue?" And then they basically went away and come back 2 minutes later and said, "No, we can't help you. And you're going to have to start again and reapply it all over again." At this point, I think I was probably over about 1 year, 2 months into the whole permanent resident status change. And I said, I'm not starting all over again. I said, I've been over a year and a half, I think, at that point. I'd waited. I'm not going to start all over again and pay all this money again. I said, you're the ones that screwed up. You made the clerical problems. I've got the evidence to show you that you've made the mistakes here. I said, please, can you just get someone to look at this in a room for 5 minutes and just look at it and acknowledge you've made a mistake and then fix it. And they said no. And I said, go and get your I was getting really angry by that point. I'll never forget that day. I was in that office. I said, go and get your supervisor. I said, I'm not happy with this. So this person who was worthless went away. And he said, come back. He said, come back in an hour. We'll give you this ticket and you come back in 1 hour and we'll get my supervisor to look at this. I thought, thank God, someone's going to finally, higher up's going to look at this, right? So I went out and got lunch in San Francisco. I came back and the guy said, basically, the supervisor looked at it and said, no, you've got to start all over again. And I blew up in there and I was effing this. And I said, you guys are like this, you know, oh, so frustrating. So much so that the security guard grabbed my arm and said, you've got to leave now. I said, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. You got to fix this. I said, this is terrible. You can't treat it. I was like, it's not my problem. You got to leave. And he took me out, marched me out of the office. And, oh man, I remember I blew up and I called my ex-wife and I said, I've had enough of this country. And I was homesick. And I said, I'm not waiting another 2 years, 1 or 2 years to get this permanent residence changed. And I was just homesick and I was young and frustrated. Anyway, long story short, me and my ex, I got her in 1 day. I got her a visa to go and live in England, right? So we went. I said, screw this country, I'm leaving. I can't deal with this. I'm going to go home. So we went home. I went home back to England. And within 6 months, I'll make another video about why I don't think I can go back to England anymore. But I basically went back to the UK. After 6 months of being there, I realised I think I've made a mistake. And I told my ex-wife, I said, I think I've made a mistake. I want to go back to America. So we ended up hiring a lawyer, an American lawyer in London. And I showed her everything. She said, this is a mess. She said, they've really screwed you guys up. I said, yeah, I know. I said, please, can you do something about it? Susan McFadden, her name is. She's retired now. Susan, if you ever watch this, thank you so much. You were brilliant, because she said to me, Nick, I'll get this fixed for you. Pay me just over £2,000 we paid 20 years ago. And she goes, I'll get it done in about 7 months at the US Embassy in London. Did she? Yes, she did. She got it all done. And I got my green card, and it was a 10-year green card, and I got back to America. So what was the lesson I learned from that? Is maybe I should have hired an immigration lawyer in the first place, because it wasn't me that screwed up. They did, but I didn't have anyone at the time to fight for me. And I didn't think about that, really, about getting someone to fight me if things go wrong. So that I learned from that. So fast forward 20 years later, got divorced from that American girl, met another lady in Thailand, and we got married in Thailand. And I actually spoke to an immigration lawyer here in Portland, and he told me what I should do and the best way to get it done. Now, why did I reach out to a lawyer again? Well, first of all, one, I had the money. I had the funds, right? Now, I understand some of you don't have the money or the funds to do it. And, you know, I understand that. And so if you don't have the funds or the money to do it, resources, sorry, then there are alternatives, which is going online, going on to different forums, going on to other Facebook groups, support groups, right, and getting the help you need, okay? But for me, I had the money. Now, I could have done it myself, possibly. But you know what that would have involved? That would have involved me having to research again now what it takes to get a CR1 visa to get my Thai wife to America, right, on a green card status. Excuse me. I'd have had to done all the research. I'd have had to spend a lot of reading. I'd have had to printed out all the forms, had to figure out if the forms were right, had to worry if I was filling them out correctly. And then also my wife worked in the Ukraine a long time ago, and I didn't know that I had to get a police certificate from the Ukraine. We had to get a police certificate from Thailand as well. She had to get vaccinations done, which I didn't really know about and think about. She had to go and get a medical done. There was a whole host of documents that we had to do, and it is crazy. It is really crazy when you just want to sidestep here for a second. But in general, I feel everyone's pain. The people that are trying to just do something really simple, which is, my wife lived over here in Thailand, right? And I lived over here in Oregon in America. We fell in love. We got married. And I just want to live with her. And all I'm trying to do is get her from there to here on 2 flights, which took about 20 hours, right? Just from here to be with her husband, which she legally should be allowed to do. From there to there, 20 hours. Now, to do that, I had to wait a year and a half. A year and a half from start to finish, and a whole load of documents and work and background checks, everything, just to do that to that. Just to get somebody on a plane from there to there, right? Now, the average cost that I've read online that people pay now to get to America, whether it's a K1 or CR1, the average cost I read can be anywhere from $5,000 up to $12,000 per case. Now, that depends on your case, on how difficult it is, and whatever documents you need to get, because everyone's case is slightly different, right? You could have children, you could have had a criminal record before, right? You might not have the financial requirements, right? There's a whole, like my wife, for instance, had to go get her police certificate from the Ukraine, and God, that took 2 months because of what's going on there right now, and with the war and everything. My lawyer told me that there are some people that work in multiple countries as English teachers, and if they've worked in 10 countries, they have to get a police certificate from 10 countries. That could take a long time. So what I'm trying to tell you is that every case is different. It's individual to you. It could be to another one. So every K1 case, every CR1 case might not be the same. And I think there's potholes along the way where you could fail, or you fill the form out incorrectly, or you didn't pay the right fee, or you didn't file something on time, or your passport photos are not correct, or the evidence that you supply that your relationship is legit. There's a whole bunch of things that you could fail on, right? Now, if I did all the work myself, saved a load of money, and I made a mistake, what would happen is they would just say to me, you've made a mistake, correct it. And if I corrected it and it was still wrong, they might just say, you've got to start all over again, which is what happened to me about 20 years ago. Even though none of it was my fault. And I didn't want to go through that headache. And as I said, I had the money to do it. Now, my lawyer, he does this every day in, day out. The reason I picked him, I read his reviews, and he's been in business 16 years. And I spoke to him on the phone, very friendly guy, felt very happy with him. And he had over 400 reviews, really great person. And he delivered. He did exactly what he said he would do, and he did it. And I paid the money, and it was worth the money, because I didn't have to, again, I didn't have to do all the research, read all the documents, go through all the stress of asking everyone questions every day. Like, you know what you do, right? You're on the website every day, like, is my case updated? What does this mean on the website? What does that mean? Is it failed? You know, anytime I had a problem, I would call my lawyer and just say, what does this mean? Oh, don't worry, Nick. That's quite normal. It means this or that means that. Or he said, don't worry. He said, I've got a lot of other cases and they're taking about this time, which is typical time to take to get this done. So don't worry about it. So in my argument, I paid for peace of mind, but also what I paid for was a guarantee that if something went wrong, my lawyer, I just call him up and go, hey, this has gone wrong, just fix it. Yep, I'll get it fixed. That's what I was paying for. If you think of it like this, right? If I had a plumbing problem or an electrical problem in my home, yes, I could get books out of the library or read online or look at YouTube videos, right? And learn how to become an electrician, right? Or learn how to become a plumber or a roofer or a carpet layer, right? Or my car's broken. I could spend hours and days and weeks reading and talking to people online. How do you fix my car? What's this noise mean, right? Or why am I getting a shock off the light bulb, right? Because I did my own electrical work, right? If you do all the work yourself and it goes wrong, you've got no one to call and say, hey, come back, you've messed up, I've got a warranty on this thing, right? No. If I try to fix my own car and it's still broken, it's on me. I've got to fix it. And if I don't know how to fix it, guess what I'm going to do? Eventually, I'm going to call a specialist. I'm going to call a professional. I'm going to call somebody that's got experience, that's educated and knows what they're doing to fix my car. Or they've got they're bonded, insured and licensed to do electrical work on my house, right? And if it goes wrong, I just call them up and say, it's not working still. You didn't see the project through to the end. Can you get it fixed? Yep, I'll be back tomorrow to get it fixed. I'm really sorry about that. That's why I paid an immigration lawyer. Because I don't want to have to do all that headache and all the stress of it. I've got too much going on in my life as well, right? So that's my argument for hiring an immigration lawyer. Because they know what they're doing. They know how to submit the documents perfectly on time, every time, all the requirements that are needed, because they're up on all the latest news and all the changes that happen, right? And the visas and what you need and what's changed from last year, what's coming up next year. They know all of that. And they've also seen problems in the past and they know how to fix it if stuff comes along, right? Or if they don't know how to fix it, they know another option, how to get around it, circumvent around it, right? Or we'll try something different, right? Stuff that I don't know about. I don't know about any of this. Anyway, you're probably going to ask, how much did I pay? It was $4,500 I paid. Then I had to pay all my immigration fees on top of that. So I don't know, maybe $5,500 I paid. But it was worth my time. And I said, I had the money to do it. I had the resources to do it. So it wasn't a big deal for me. But if I didn't have the money, and money was tight, I just couldn't pay for it, then yeah, I probably would have tried to do it myself, but it would have been a real stress and concern that I might have at some point screw it up, or they would screw up my case, which they have done before, and then I would have no lawyer to help me. Then eventually I'd have to hire a lawyer anyway. So if they screw you up, you're gonna have to end up hiring a lawyer anyway to get the mess sorted out. So yeah, again, with the analogy with the car, just don't, for me personally, if you've got the money, don't mess around trying to fix your own car and the risks involved in it, right? And it on you to fix it if it breaks down again. Just throw money at somebody. So just get this done, you know. Well, I hope that was helpful for you. I'll leave that there. So what I'll do is I'm probably going to do another video soon. And I'm going to go through the whole timeline of my wife's visa, start to finish, all the documents and everything we had to do, etc. And then also the emotional aspects, how you deal. There's on Facebook groups, I see a lot of people venting and emotional. It's a real emotional stress, waiting and the patience, not knowing if you're going to get to the end, right? I'll go through that in another video, and the ways that I dealt with it and the ways that my wife dealt with it and how we sort of could stay positive, focused. But they'll be in the next one. All right, well, I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, take care. Bye-bye.